the idea of mass becoming invisible and disappearing is very easy to understand. Once mass itself is vibrating, even down in the lower electromagnetic spectrum, it will disappear into the radio spectrum, and even down, even a little higher than that is infrared. Well, going back to Mexico, let's answer Mexico here, and then I'm going to give you an insight on Roswell before we finish here. 11 UFOs showed up on the infrared cameras. These are forward-looking infrared cameras developed by our military. They're $400,000 if you want to buy one. The forward-looking infrared camera is way beyond normal infrared, way, way beyond it. It actually takes two levels, low-end and high-end, high-frequency infrared, and fuses the two planes together, and the resolution on the camera is, when you actually study the data on it, is really, really incredible. We got clear footage. These UFOs, and you'll see from Mexico, have a structure. You can see this tube-like shape and then a round light coming out of it. But they couldn't see them with the naked eye. Now, why did 8 of them remain invisible to radar and 3 were visible to radar? All of them invisible to the human eye. Well, they're flying at about, I think it's 18,000 feet roughly. That's where these planes were flying. It's very cold up there, minus 27 degrees. Okay, I propose if the UFOs themselves, they're not down in the infrared. Their wavelengths are way up in the ultraviolet and higher. Ultraviolet light, as we all know, our Earth's atmosphere shields us from UV rays because it's hotter. It's more radiative. Hotter temperatures on that light. If a spacecraft is radiating ultraviolet pure waveform energy, and that light bounces against the cold atmosphere, minus 27 degrees. And apparently, according to Hamimison's report, you have a humidity of 70 some odd percent. It's very humid, so there's moisture. That moisture heats up, okay? It gets hot. And an infrared camera loves that because you've got a cold background, which would appear very dark, like you'll see on the Mexican footage. And then you'll see the heat source is it's like a beacon. It's a bright contrast against it. Had that footage been shot here in New Mexico when it's 100 degrees outside, your signal-to-noise ratio would be so poor you wouldn't see anything. It's because it's so cold that they got a good signature. But why did 8 not show up on radar and 3 did? That fits in perfectly with the theory I presented here today. If mass, steel, starts to change frequency and it starts to become translucent almost, right? It can go invisible, but it still has a little bit of mass to it. So microwave radiation, which is photons, will bounce off of that very weak low mass and give you a return signal. But once they go translucent, like the disk you saw on the tether, microwaves are light waves. They'll just pass right through them. You don't get a signal. You get nothing. But you get a picture that you can see, just like in the case with the NASA UFOs. You can see these on visual cameras, but you could not see these on radar. So this explains how some UFOs can escape radar, total stealth technology, go invisible, and then if they want to become physical in our dimension, they slow their waves down to a frequency relative to ours. Our Earth vibrates at 7 to 8 hertz, according to Tesla and Schumann. I believe the leftover charge on the graviton particle is probably around the same frequency, although its spin rate is much slower. So